Strong, stealthy and slick. It starts its engine, checks the onboard systems and assemblies, taxis towards the runway, accelerates and after a few moments disappears from view. Something without a single soul inside. An S-70B1 prototype of the newest unmanned aerial vehicle of the Okhotnik Russia program, created at the Sukhoi Design Bureau, is undergoing ground tests.
The S-70 Okhotnik Russia drone made its maiden 20-minute flight back in August 2019. But it became even more famous when the news broke. It had been put through its paces in a joint flight with an up-to-the-minute fifth-generation Su-57 fighter as a leader aircraft. Now it's time to get to know each other a bit closer. Let's take a look at the giant's dimensions.
The length of this S-70B1 prototype is 14 meters. The height is 3 meters 30 centimeters. The wingspan is 19 meters. The wing area is 110 square meters. According to publicly available information, in the future, mass-produced drones of this program will be even bigger. Officially, the S-70 of the Hunter program is a combat unmanned aerial vehicle designed to perform a wide range of missions. It will be produced using stealth technology, thanks to its shape, balancing, location of the air intake, internal weapons base, special coating and engine. Specifically on this S-70B1 prototype, which by the way is the first flying vehicle of this project, the stealth technology is only partially implemented. Data on its performance, such as weight, speed, range, flight duration, payload mass, armament range or service ceiling are all strictly classified, but there are still some hints.
It is fast, as it has a jet engine, meaning it can provide a speedy delivery of whatever it carries. It's huge. Its wingspan is bigger than that of the fifth-generation Su-57. So due to its size, it's able to lift an impressive payload of munitions. And more importantly, it can use regular aviation weapons designed for the rest of combat aircraft. In contrast, other drones, smaller in size, made of lightweight composite materials, require munitions specially produced for them. Otherwise, they would fall apart in the air when launching conventional bombs or missiles.
Taking this information into account, we can accurately assume that this machine is hardly intended for localized skirmishes, but rather for a serious armed confrontation. The S-70 was created in accordance with the flying wing aerodynamic design, which makes it similar to the American B-2 manned strategic bomber and the X-47 and OQ-170 Sentinel unmanned aerial vehicles. The streamlined shape, the absence of a tail, plays the most important role in ensuring the stealth of the machine. But of course, the closest thing to the Hunter is its older brother, the fifth-generation fighter Su-57.
If we talk about the similarities it shares with the other Sukhoi Design Bureau developments, this particular aircraft has a fairly large range of modules and systems from the Su-57, from the landing gear and engine to the hardware of its control system.
The S-70 is powered by one afterburner turbojet engine rather than the two on the Su-57. There is no thrust vectoring control and its nozzle is fixed, since the aircraft does not have the goal of being super maneuverable. The Hunter does not have a shortened takeoff and landing distance and has a lower takeoff speed than the Su-57. On the day when we filmed this material, the S-70's braking systems were being tested, among other things. The two front cameras of the drone serve as the eyes of the operator-pilot, who controls it remotely from a ground control point. Currently, there is manual control here, but in the future it will be abolished, and the unmanned aircraft will fly and perform tasks entirely in automatic mode, in other words, on autopilot. And this will require the latest, even more powerful artificial intelligence systems installed inside the machine. At the moment, the crew includes 3 people, a pilot operator, a navigator operator, and a communications operator. Honored test pilot Evgeny Frolov pilots the Hunter both remotely and controls it when the automatic modes are turned on.
This complex provides everything necessary for this aircraft to fly and perform its tasks and everything else. That's the control of all aircraft systems, control of its position in the air, control of its trajectory, control of all logical connections.
How paramount is artificial intelligence here? To what extent is it present here?
Of course, it's present here and will be even more powerful in the future. And now we are also working on it. But this machine must do everything autonomously. It may even not be connected to the control point.
They start it up and it goes according to its program. It has to perform all the functions without a pilot on board or an operator on the ground, because anything can happen. Some failures can occur, the situation can somehow change. For example, a thunderstorm could appear somewhere along the way and it must be bypassed.
To enable the Hunter to take off for the first time, all of its systems were first installed and tested on the Su-57 aircraft. This is the Su-57 Flying Laboratory, the forerunner to the unmanned S-70. Inside, this is the S-70 Hunter, but it is obviously manned for safety reasons. Several years ago, Yevgeny Frolov remotely took off and landed this flying laboratory with a pilot inside just in case. That was the chief test pilot of the Sukhoi aviation company, Sergei Bogdan, whom we asked how it felt when another pilot was actually flying and controlling his plane from the ground.
The flight mode, the speed were not so critical. If they controlled me during aerobatics near the ground, in this case the accuracy of piloting could have been paramount. It requires time to complete a maneuver and withdraw. Here, the vertical speeds of descent, they were quite small. Considering that there were approach modes and everything was visible, everything was manageable, controlled, personally I did not anticipate any significant deviations that could seriously affect something from a safety point of view. And after that, of course, permission was received to perform the first flight of the drone, which, by the way, the pilot, having already had real experience of landing a flying laboratory with external control, our pilot successfully performed the landing of our unmanned vehicle in manual mode.
What are the advantages of the S-70? First of all, the same ones inherent in other unmanned vehicles, that it can perform the most difficult and dangerous combat missions, coming into direct contact with the enemy. It is always safer for a manned aircraft to work together with a drone. The developers say that all existing combat drones have a short range. In contrast, the range of the S-70 Hunter will be much larger. And of course, the advantage will be its intelligence, size and payload capacity.
Thanks to its size, it has the combat capabilities which in the future will be used by our armed forces.
The main task is to teach it to fly, to teach it to think correctly and to perform the tasks that have been set. This is all the mission of the flight crew, engineers, designers. We are all doing this.
In its work, it will adhere to the concept of loyal wingman, which is also the name of the project which is currently being developed by Boeing Australia. This means that the loyal wingman will be able to interact with both manned fighters and unmanned aerial vehicles, as well as work independently, performing its own missions. What makes this project stand out? Can we compare it with other world developments in this area in terms of functionality, technical characteristics?
If we talk about what the S-70B1 has adopted from unmanned vehicles developed in other countries, it's obviously the balancing scheme. This, of course, the approach to closing the motion control loop and the takeoff and landing support system from the point of view of integrating system sensors and optimizing control algorithms. Of course, this is an approach to the development of the design of the aircraft in terms of minimizing its radar signature, and probably this is a look at the general trend regarding the exploitation of complexes with unmanned aerial vehicles and their use in armed conflicts. These are probably the three key components. We can say that, yes, we are analyzing the global trend.
UAVs of the Okhotnik project are produced at an aircraft plant in Novosibirsk, where among other things the Su-34 bomber is being assembled. Currently, a construction of another S-70 prototype is taking place here. It will receive a slightly updated design and will differ from the B-1 sample both in size and partly in internal content. Several more prototypes are to be created before the machine is put into mass production, and we'll certainly keep you updated when this happens. Yulia Shapovalova, RT.